Hello.
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 Hello. Hello. Hello.
Welcome.
Back.
How goes?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of Guys Playing Games with me, Perry.
Me, Ed.
And me as.
That was not rehearsed.
I'm always
and
dramatic.
Was actually very well executed. Thank you, guys.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I'm not convinced personally, but you know.
You've got the drama king over here who likes to accentuate his own name. So
Thank you for tuning in. We're going to talk to you for about an hour about on a pretty cool topic this week. We are talking about our first gaming loves.
Yeah.
And the games that got us like into gaming. And
Yeah.
made us
We're
gamers.
mixing up our format a bit this week.
Yeah, so we're not going to do what we've been playing this week.
Yeah. But
you sure we're going to
still-
do this in an hour? I think we're going to need like 10.
Just for you.
This is a new multi-part format.
Yeah, pretty much.
No. Yeah, we're going to probably try and squeeze in some news towards the end. We'll just rattle through a few bits. But yeah, I think for the most part, we just want to kind of chat about the games that got us into gaming and kind of made us realise that, you know, gaming's where it was.
Yeah,
at.
for sure. And we've also...
I'll just
as
throw
well-
this.
Go
Oh,
on, mate.
sorry.
Go on,
You
carry on.
Perry.
Go on.
That's because I can't see you.
We will
This is
get
the
that
awkward
sorted.
thing, people, is that I'm the other side of the world. I'm not. And I can't see them. So, like, when there's, like, a little break, I'm like, hello! And then, like, they're talking and I can't tell.
Next
They're
week.
still-
We'll have it sorted next week.
Yeah, we'll
I can
we'll
see you
figure
next
it out.
week.
We might just have to
I
set
was
up
gonna-
2 cameras. So
I was just going to, like, throw it out there. Should we, like, do news first and then we'll do, like...
yeah, that's
alright.
what we're going to do. So let's roll straight into it.
Oh, that's because
Go
Ed
to the
said
episode.
later. I was like, oh, we do.
No, yeah,
what's
that's
the
fair enough.
format?
No. We're gonna hit them with the
Yeah, we'll rattle through.
breaking news. Dun 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 dun.
Some
dun,
of it
dun,
is
dun.
quite breaking, right? We've managed to like sneak some last minutes in there.
Yeah, pretty much. Go on then. You kick off.
Okay, a real quick one to start with. Last Thursday on the Division's State of the Game, their weekly community Twitch stream thing,
Oh yeah.
they just casually. It was pretty casual actually.
It was super
They
casual.
were
Yeah.
just like, yeah, we're like gonna do some more patches and stuff, and yeah, Division 2 is coming out at some point. Just,
People were like, "What the fuck?"
and yeah,
like-
they released the logo for it, but that's literally pretty much all we know so far.
I swear they literally released that like a couple of minutes after we finished recording the podcast as well. It's
Yeah,
like,
it
for
was-
fuck's sake, you could have like said this 10 minutes ago. Like,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, all things pointing to like I would assume a big reveal at Ubisoft's E3 conference. I think that's pretty much a dead set.
yeah. Do
Hoping
you know what's
for-
scary? Is
What?
like E3 is like gonna happen in like a minute. It feels like it's like literally
it's-
just
it
around the
feels like
corner
it's
now.
creeping up really quickly.
It feels like the last E3 was like not far,
Yeah.
like away at all. Like
it's really weird
it was super soon.
because Microsoft today announced like their plans for E3, saying they're going to do their conference in the Microsoft Theatre that's opposite the like E3 Convention Center place, LA Convention Center. So yeah, everyone's starting to talk about it already, and we're still like a few months out. But yeah, so yeah, that was my quick Division 2 thing.
Yeah, I was just seeing your entry in here about the Darwin Project. I was actually going to talk about this because I've been watching some streams of it,
Yes,
and it looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
I played 3 games when I got home this evening.
Oh
I had a
really?
quick.
Oh, you bought it?
Well, no,
It's early access.
Yeah, so there's a 2-hour free trial.
Oh,
But even having
Oh.
said that, it's only £12 to buy, so I might.
I didn't know this. I thought you. Well, I think on PC you don't have that option. I guess it's an Xbox
Oh yeah, because it's
thing,
on
but-
Steam. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything on early access or the game preview on Xbox, everything has a trial, so you can try it out for 2 hours.
I said that's news to me. I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's cool.
So I could hop on and play PUBG for 2 hours.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Oh, didn't know that. Mind
but yeah,
blown.
Darwin Project. Yeah, it's quite interesting. It's for those. It was kind of announced at last year's E3, and it's kind of been pretty quiet. And then I remember reading last week that it was being released this week. But yeah, it's in the kind of beta game preview thing, and it's basically if you took Hunger Games and made it look like Fortnite and added a bit of the sort of Division survival mode in.
I think that's the bit of the game that I like the most about it. It's very survival. It's very
Yeah.
like you start the game with nothing and have to craft your way up. And
Yeah, and you have that cold.
That's like
element.
every battle royale game, though.
But you have it's a bit more environmental in that you have the cold, which plays a part like it did in Division,
Yeah.
and you have to like craft like better fur coats and stuff to keep you warm, and you can Like at any point you can craft, if you've got wood, you can like craft a fire to warm yourself up. There's only 2 weapons in the game. You have
really?
an axe and a bow, and you can kind of like upgrade them slightly by crafting. But that's, as far as weapons go, that's it.
I don't know a whole hell of a lot about it. I mean, I've seen a couple of trailers and stuff. I saw one the other day where you've got the be the host, I think it is, where you can like decide who receives certain things.
It's a bit weird in the current crop of battle royale games where the games are 10 players plus a controller. Or director, sorry, as they're called.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
The director has like well, it's one of these sort of, it's a futuristic game show in, you know, like Hunger Games, bow and arrow, and all that. That's where sort of comparisons come in. But yeah, you have this player playing the director who can trigger certain events and do things like, so they can. It's quite fun. I was watching some, as probably said, watching some streamers play it, and whoever's a director can like tap into, like when they're in spectator mode, jumping around the players, they can chat to the player they're spectating. So they can like just hop around the players and have chats with them, see what they're up to.
All right.
And they can then imbue them with like extra health or give them invulnerability, and then they can like close off areas of the map. So instead of like a circle in, again, like other battle royale games
that gets smaller,
the map is kind of, it's a sort of hexagon shaped map that's split into 7 smaller hexagons, and you basically close off areas of the map until you're left with one section. And it's also got heavy Twitch integration as well. So if you're playing, whoever's playing the director, if they can't decide what effect or thing they want to do, they can like just put up a vote, and it basically does an overlay on the side of the screen, and the viewers can like click on it to vote for what option they want to happen to what player as well.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's a trailer I saw the other day where it was talking about that.
So yeah,
that looked nice and interesting and different.
Yeah, so it's a nice little twist on the BR.
I would like to play
genre.
it. I think it's the battle royale game that I'll probably like. I think it's the one for me. Moving on, what else we got on this awesome spreadsheet of ours?
We've got another game announcement. I'll jump in.
Well, then you chime in.
Yeah, I like getting these ones on the same day. Of like, there seems to be every week that we record this now is going to be there's a new great game announced. So yeah, tomorrow morning is the full, I guess, announcement. Even though they kind of announced it a few months ago, Shadow of the Tomb Raider is getting it tomorrow. So that'll be the 3rd game and the final, apparently, in the origin story trilogy.
And what's been
for Tomb Raider,
pretty good games as well. Like, I've really enjoyed both.
I love the latest 2 Tomb Raider games. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah,
I think
really
they're
good.
really good. Really enjoyed them. So yeah, sort of that's coming. And that will probably be a similar thing. We'll probably get a teaser tomorrow, and then
I've never played them.
Actual gameplay. Of course you haven't. You don't play anything.
For a guy that plays games, I don't play many games.
Exactly.
Guys,
So yeah, that's coming out.
Guys playing games in Perry.
I'm excited.
I'm
I'm excited to buy a new graphics card. That's what I'm excited for.
Are you?
To have to buy a new graphics card, did you say?
Oh, 100%. That game is the latest
you
one.
Need a reason to buy a new graphics card. You of all people in the world.
Always.
You don't need a reason.
It's just like, you know.
Like when they announce a new graphics card, you're like, yeah, I'll buy that.
yeah. There's
why? What game do you need it to play? And you're like, oh, none. I just want it.
All of them.
I just need it.
PUBG.
Just need it.
Yeah, just need it.
Yeah, PUBG in 4K. That's what I need it for.
That graphics powerhouse.
Yeah, exactly. That really nice looking game.
Anyway,
so yeah, Twitch Prime is giving away some free games apparently. So the first of which was Devil May Cry, which is really random because Devil May Cry HD collection come this week.
They have done a few one-offs before. Devil May Cry is not the first.
Yeah, but the reason that was felt random is because it was like, here's one slice of the whole package that's just come out this week. So,
right,
which is weird. I haven't actually checked into this, so I have no idea.
Like five games.
No, it's 3 games. So you get Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3. So the original 3 PS2.
But this monthly thing, like the first.
Oh,
month,
sorry, yeah. I was
like,
just talking about Devil May Cry being random.
The first month of Twitch Prime, you get like 5 games.
Yeah, you get 5 games. So they are Super Hot, Shadow Tactics, Tales from Candlekeep, Oxenfree, and Mr.
This makes me want to buy Twitch Prime because
Yeah.
Tales from Candlekeep and Oxenfree are two of my wanted games.
See, weirdly, Superhot is about to drop on Games with Gold on Xbox tomorrow. What date?
Yeah,
it's
this month.
It's this month. Oxenfree we had last month before. So 2 of those I've got. Shadow Tactics, Tales from Candlekeep. I'm interested in.
I'm really looking forward to playing Superhot. Like, I could have got it on the Xbox as well, but I'm going to grab that on Twitch. I've got Oxenfree. I got that for like £3 on Switch. Haven't played it yet. So
okay, yeah, I've
that's on my to-do list.
Is that on? Wait, you got it on Steam?
No, Switch.
Oh,
yeah. I like buying indie games on the Switch.
I was like,
it's like my indie platform is the Switch. So if I'm going to play an indie game, it's going to be on the Switch.
Fair.
So yeah.
This makes me want to sign up to Twitch Prime.
Yeah, so if they're giving 5 games away a month, this is like.
But they announced the following months as well.
Yeah,
like that's
bizarre.
March, which I just said. I mean, next month you get Tales from the Borderlands, SteamWorld, Dig 2, Kingsway, Tokyo 42, and Dub Wars.
I don't know what the last 4 are, but Tales from the Borderlands was excellent.
I have no idea about any of them.
I've
really.
got Tokyo 42 on Xbox, and that's quite fun, but it's quite niche.
What's that about?
It's an isometric shootery type. You're basically like a little stick figure, but it's a real pixely isometric shooter thing. It's really cool. Like, it's really stylized and really cool.
Either way, still, like, you think, I mean, Amazon Prime is what, $7.99 a month or 80 quid for the year, to sort of how you want to pay it. And like, you get Prime, and then you get the Twitch stuff as well. There's a lot of shit for what you get.
You get
Prime,
all the Prime Video stuff, all the delivery benefits.
Exactly, you get all the TV, you
are
get the delivery.
Are there still like in-game rewards that you get as well? So
yeah, you get that stuff as well.
Seriously, so I still get like golden loot boxes and stuff in.
The add-in stuff.
Damn.
But at the moment the Fortnite stuff's still up there.
It's real good value. It's real good.
A couple of
on what
special Twitch Fortnite skins and like a glider thing.
I've decided I'm signing up.
So you get loot boxes. I've been getting loot boxes on Call of Duty for the last couple of months.
I keep redeeming them even though I don't have the game on the off chance that I actually pick it
you never know. One day it might come.
I might buy it and then I'll have all these loot boxes to open. It'd be great.
You have all these fucking awesome skins and you'll be like, well, don't even need to play now. So that's my news.
Good.
What else we got, Ed?
Good news that I liked
it. I mean, I just mentioned the BioWare Anthem thing. So Drew Karpyshyn, who wrote like the first couple of Mass Effects and I think like the Baldur's Gate stuff as well, and a whole bunch of books for various things. He's left BioWare again. So he left BioWare
again
a while back, and then he rejoined to work on Anthem, and now he's left again. So whether the story for Anthem is locked down and he's gone,
it's got to be fairly locked down.
But apparently, whoever was working, like the writer who was working under him, has left as well.
Let's be really careful with this as well, because the exact same thing happened to Destiny
twice.
But when they were like, yeah, the story's fine, then their lead writer left,
wasn't,
and then they were like, shit, we need to rewrite it really quickly. Like, and then Cade became like a background character. And,
in the first one, yeah,
like in the first one.
I mean, I say it could be that the main story arc is like locked down. It could there's once the story is written, there's not much more. I'm
not that worried, and I'll tell you for why. They've not announced a release date. So I'm still like, they still have a lot of flexibility to push stuff back.
It can't get pushed that far back.
I mean, it can still.
It has to be before the end of March next year.
Have they confirmed that?
Well, they said it's going to be financial year.
Oh, right, okay.
So it has to, that's the window it has to hit.
Well, that again, I mean, they could push back, but I think EA, with the slate they've got at the minute, is they probably need to get that game out. I was reading an article, actually, before we come on here, speaking of the news. They've got what's it called? A Way Out is out next month, which is the co-op game where you have to escape from prison. That's what I meant to say. Sorry, wrong word. Yeah. Next week.
I'm actually really up for
that. Yeah, it does look good. I must admit. Need to play. You don't actually need to both own the game either. So if you get it, because I won't buy it on Xbox, I'll hop on and join you.
Cool. Yeah, I'd be up for that.
But anyway, getting back to what I was saying. One of the guys who worked on that, obviously the team who did that, I think they're an indie dev team originally.
Yeah.
And now obviously they're part of EA, and they were saying that EA aren't actually making any money at the moment. I didn't read the ins and outs of the article
I saw this as well.
but it was like they're not making any money, and I was like, okay, because did you see the whole thing a few weeks ago as well, where they were like, I think it was on the Forbes list or something, but they weren't even in like the upper echelon of like games companies or whatever it is.
Oh, really?
I can't remember what the actual. Yeah, they've like gone down a bracket and stuff like that. It's probably a conversation for another time, but it's intriguing to see like how EA have obviously gone from this conglomerate and that, like all of a sudden they're on a bit, uneven ground. It seems like from stuff we're reading. So
it's an interesting topic. I think we should definitely reapproach it in a later podcast for sure. Because
yeah, definitely. We'll do some proper reading. This is all stuff I've skimmed through and whatever. But
we'll do some proper reading, then maybe come up with like an actual talking topic point of like the effect of the players actually have on these big companies, like when they don't buy their games and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel it's probably going to open up that wormhole of loot boxes again. That'll be nice. Dun dun.
The loot box wormhole.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So that probably wraps up our news section for this week. Let's just plow on into our hot topic. Who wants to go first?
Ooh. I think you should go first.
Me?
Let's play rock, paper, scissors. I can't see anyone.
I just put a rebel in my mouth, so it means I can't go first.
All right, fine. I'll go first. If nobody else
Okay, Ed, you go first.
willing to jump in, I'll take the...
Come on, Ed. Tell us about your first gaming love.
Well...
Her name was Lola.
What one made the panties moist first?
So I've got a kind of a two-pronged approach to this. The kind of first part is probably... Well, I'll just spit it out. Right, so the first bit is the original Sonic games on the Mega Drive. So at the time...
Mega Drive or the Master System?
Mega Drive.
Okay.
At the time... my parents were like against games consoles and all that, so I would spend a lot of time at my friends' houses who all had Mega Drives. And my sort of defining memory of that period is the Sonic games, specifically Sonic 1 and 2. But I say that was probably I was probably getting into games without realizing it, if that makes sense. I was kind of always going around there. I'm sure there must have been periods where like one of my best mates lived literally across the road from me, and I would there must have been times where like I spent every evening of the week like at his house playing on his Mega Drive because we weren't allowed one. So I was probably kind of unwittingly becoming a gamer without really realizing it, if that makes sense. I think it was because I was still quite young at that point.
That was like the beauty of games back then, weren't it? I mean, because it's like today, you can just sit at home and play online with your friends. Whereas like back then, like if you wanted to like play anything with your mate, and like how much more willing when you're a kid as well, are you to like share a game? Like they're like, oh, you do this level and I'll do the next one, or like I'll watch you for a bit and then you watch me. Like,
totally.
Like now I can't imagine doing that. I'm like, fuck you, I want the pad, I want to do it. But,
I think it's a really interesting topic as well of how like the game styles have changed. So back in the day, we were playing games that were very much like pick up, put down. Like you could just like you could put them down, come back to them the next day, and it was fine. But
the platformers were the thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, whereas like games these days, they're almost like designed to be addictive. It's like
I think the psychology of games has changed like massively. Like, these companies want you to sit there for 12 hours a day, pumping your life into this title.
I'll talk more about this topic on my gaming choice. But yeah, let's carry on anyway.
Yeah, so that was kind of, let's say like one of my earliest gaming memories, but like it's kind of
like the launch pad for you.
But then the thing that kind of really kind of cemented things for me was like probably a few years later, and we eventually got a PC at home. And obviously, games came to the fore once we got our hands on an actual machine in our own house. And the first game that I can really remember kind of sinking time and getting really invested in was Dune 2, which was one of the... Dune 2, which is one of the earliest incarnations of RTSs.
Holy shit, okay.
That there was. It's made by Westwood, who you may know the name of. They were eventually bought up and swallowed by EA, But
those guys made
before,
some great shit.
before
Just
that,
saying.
of course, they were responsible for Command and Conquer. So basically, Dune 2 was essentially a precursor to Command and Conquer games.
Sorry, just real tangent. As was just like shooing someone out of his room.
Shooing, like, get the
fucking
fuck out!
Get
We're
out!
recording.
Get out! For any podcast, for any SoundCloud and iTunes listeners. Carry on anyway.
That shit happens here. Sorry.
That's right. I'm just looking at my notes. Westwood. This was it was released in 1991. So we're going back a bit.
Year I was born.
Yeah, I don't even want to know about it. It's terrifying. This game it's the precursor to like Command and Conquer and basically every RTS that came afterwards. And like it was kind of funny, like just like going back and doing a bit of research on it to talk about it. Like just seeing the screenshots and stuff, like really kind of brought it all back. And like just remember playing it. I remember like playing through the campaign and getting to the end. I remember like the first time I played through it, like the last mission was bugged, so I couldn't complete it. Because
devastating.
Yeah,
That's
devastating.
So like the kind of premise of it is like obviously with the Dune universe and stuff, you got Arrakis, which is the spice planet, and you got the houses competing for the spice, and so you align yourself with one of the houses at the start, so you pick a faction, and then throughout the game, they did some pretty radical stuff back then for what it was, like considering this was a very new genre at the time. So you kind of, the first couple of missions, you were kind of just learning the ropes and establishing yourself. But then for missions from then on, you were given like a planetary map, and you would pick which territory you wanted to go into next. And the territories were controlled by one of the other houses, so you could dictate which faction you were going to fight. And then the further you got through it, eventually the Emperor's faction came into it as well. So that was like a fourth faction. And they basically had access to the units from all three sort of player factions, but each of the factions had like unique units that were unique when you played them, and like had different strengths and weaknesses and stuff. And yeah,
that was 91 that came out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Jesus, I didn't realise it was.
And like so some of the things that this game kind of pioneered with, this game had the first appearance of the world map where missions are chosen. That was the first time that had been done. Resource gathering to fund unit construction. This is the first time that was a thing.
Wow. That's where Vespian gas came from.
Yeah, base and unit construction, like the sort of base building and like the technology tree of like upgrading buildings and stuff. That all comes from this. Mobile units that can be deployed as buildings. The factions, blah blah blah. Context-sensitive mouse cursor to issue commands. I'm not quite entirely sure what that means, but that was the first. This was one of the first games.
I guess that means when you did a little click. Is that what it means? So like
so maybe either move or attack.
The little green things on the floor. It's like
one of the things I remember from like looking at the screenshots and like reading through this. One of the overriding things, one of the things this game was missing, which is kind of key to RTSs these days, is you couldn't multiple select units.
Wow.
You had to do everything one by one.
Had to do everything separately.
So I can remember doing like battles, so you like gearing up my army and sending them like just out of range of the enemy base, and so you kind of slowly, they're all going up there one by one, and you're massing this like little group of group of
40
units,
soldiers.
Just also like a bunch of tanks or whatever, just sitting like just slightly away from the enemy base, and then you decide to make your move, and you start frantically clicking to like click there, then attack, and then you go back and you get the next one. It's just frantic, just race.
I'm completely watching got some footage on in the background while we're just discussing this, just so I can see it for myself. That is incredible.
Yeah, it was an amazing game, and I'd say that this is definitely the game that
was
really hooked me.
The one that got you into
it.
And
I just remember like spending hours, just absolutely loved it. And
so if that was 91 and you were playing, what year did the Mega Drive come out?
Yeah, this would have been
Was this before you got into Sonic, or?
No, this would have been after. I was definitely playing Mega Drive before we had a PC. Actually, having said that, I guess I might not have played this the year it came out. Thinking about it, I might have played it a couple of years later. That's a possibility, because we might have got our PC a bit later, and then I picked the game up.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, I always just get like date wise. I was like, what the fuck?
But yeah, so yeah, that was kind of totally my jam, and that
That's
kind of
awesome.
led into like other stuff like down the lines, SimCity
was gonna say,
2000, like that was the people would
Holy
argue
shit.
argue that SimCity 2000 like was one of the pinnacles of the SimCity sort of franchise. And then later down again, like stuff like Roller Coaster Tycoon, so like all very like simmy type stuff, but stuff that you could just sink like hours. Just get really.
So was that what really gripped you, like all the simulation games? You used to play all that stuff, like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Tycoon, blah blah blah.
You don't play Sims anymore.
No, I don't.
Like you don't play.
But nor do I. Like
RTS.
No.
I was similar to Edge. I always called you Edge. What the fuck? He's a wrestler.
You can
I was
call me
similar to Edge.
No.
Yeah, Edge.
From now on, you are dubbed Edge.
The Edge. I was similar to Ed though. Like, but the first games I played on PC anyway was like simulator games. I used to play the shit out of simulator games all the time.
Yeah, but the thing is,
like now, I probably wouldn't really play a sim.
I think the thing is though, like the stuff that we have now, like the MMOs and the shooters and stuff, they weren't really around back then, which is why we
not as
didn't
commonplace
play them.
anyway. No
I mean,
way.
you had the early days. You had Doom. Like I remember playing Doom, the original Doom and stuff, and then Quake when that came out. When suddenly everything went 3D and it was like,
holy shit!
Yeah, it was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But yeah, like back playing Dune 2, there was nothing like. There weren't shooters and stuff. So
exactly. I mean, you think of like your favourite games on, say, the Mega Drive. And stuff like that.
It was all platform. Yeah, it's all platform stuff.
Yeah, it's all platform. There wasn't any FPS then. Well, I mean, there was. Obviously, they existed, but not on those consoles. The games you had.
It was all platformers, side scrollers.
Yeah.
That was basically it. I guess like racing games, maybe.
Exactly. I mean, this discussion of FPS will break into what I'm going to talk about in a bit as well. So
you have the odd game like a Zelda, A Link to the Past, which was
of course,
like the old like Link's Awakening. Sorry, that was that had a bit of side scroller in it, but that was mostly
you had so there was RPG stuff as well. There's
RPG stuff, but I'm talking about first person shooters and shooters in general. They weren't really a thing. I mean, you had side scrolling shooters, but it was a side scroller still.
I suppose Doom was the first FPS, wasn't it?
Well,
really?
Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough.
Doom was the one that like blew the doors off everything, pretty much. But like Wolfenstein was the
Doom 2. Okay.
Yes,
I think we have to plan a session where we all get together and just play our old loves. Just before
when I was putting up the trying to find the Wikipedia page for Dune 2, just before when I came here earlier, I just randomly found a link and discovered that I can play Dune 2 in the browser on my phone, which is amazing.
That's great.
Shit.
What I wanted to say though as well, like just looking at that footage you were saying about Westwood as well, is like just looking at this, is you can see where the foundations are laid for what they were going to go and do later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Conquer. Command and Conquer, Red Alert, all that stuff. It's like, the whole basis of that stuff was in Dune 2. Like the funny thing is, like it was Dune 2, but there was a first game, Dune, but it was more of an adventure-y point and clicky thing. Like it was completely different. And then I think they kind of got some ideas for this kind of RTS-y stuff. I think it was actually, if I remember rightly from what I was reading earlier, there was actually a Mega Drive game that was kind of one of the first RTS-y, or maybe it wasn't one of the first ones, but one of the ones that kind of spurred their imagination to go on to then they kind of borrowed some ideas of like having, it's essentially an RTS game. And that kind of spurred them on to kind of create this for Dune 2, because it really, one of the things, it kind of really fit with the storyline of having these warring factions, like, and this sort of planet with the resource and stuff, and it was kind of just a perfect fit of things that kind of spawned this kind of blueprint for what will become RTSs in the future. It's kind of nuts. to think about it. Even stuff, the Warcraft games were inspired by this. It's like, it's all kind of stems from there.
It's amazing how one game
Mm.
can, create that like I say, that spark that then lights everything on fire, and people expand and build on that, and improve on it. But yeah, it's, like I say, looking at this, I mean, I'd heard of Dune 2 and stuff like that, but never really read into it. I mean, obviously, 91. I was 1 year old, so I didn't play Dune 2.
Interestingly enough, when you say Dune to me, I think of the film.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Of what it was based on.
Oh yeah, the classic film. Yeah, it's amazing.
Fucking great film.
Yeah,
Genuinely a great film.
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely, it was massive. Was it massively slated at the time?
Oh yeah, of course it was.
It's like a Blade Runner, like again, like critical, and failure at the time, but yeah, over the years is just seen as like a masterpiece. And
a cult classic.
Yeah, the Dune film. I love me some of that as well. That was
I've never seen it.
Along with Labyrinth, Dune was one of the first DVDs that I bought.
Labyrinth, holy shit!
Labyrinth and Dune.
What a movie!
I think Labyrinth and Dune were the first two DVDs that I bought when DVDs were a thing.
Bowie was a sexy man. Random bad comment, but yeah, once that was, there you go. Go on then. All right, so that's you then. That's you wrapped up.
It's actually been really nice to kind of revisit this. Actually, I say looking over it and researching is that really sort of remind me how fond my memories of this game were, and like really enjoying my time playing it. And like
that's why I sort of suggested this topic. We've all got that one game. It doesn't matter if it's the first game or that one that come a bit later on. Everybody has that one game where it's like if someone turns around to you and says, "What what is your favourite game?" Everybody has that one game where it's like this is my favourite.
We had this argument last week. See, favourite game is I think is a very different subject. I wouldn't say Dune 2 is my favourite game.
Well, okay, yeah, what you know what I mean.
I think I agree. Like my gaming choices are not by any stretch my favourite games.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do you want to segue into your one, into your gaming loves?
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'll finish.
Mine segues on the FPS stuff, but I'll get to that in a minute because there was plenty before. Because I'm a bit like Ed, but my first true love with a computer game come a bit later, way after. I mean, we were on PS2 that came out, but way before that was obviously. I want to speak about Super Mario because I guess technically Super Mario in general is my first game in love. I think it is for a lot of people, and that feels like a really default answer.
That would make sense.
But it's the truth. Super Mario All-Stars on Super Nintendo. Oh my god, did I used to play the shit out of that game? Like it was ridiculous. But the main one I just wanted to just talk about was Mario 64 because the amount of time I used to plow into that game. I remember that game. I was like 6 years old when that came out, 7 years old, and me and my friend Adam would sit and play Mario until like 3 a.m. Fuck knows why my mum would let me stay up until that time when I was like 7 years old.
Yes, V.
But we'd sit up until 3 a.m. and be collecting stars until 3 a.m. and we'd play that every day. I'd just go back and repeat stars and stuff as well. And even to this day, like that game holds up. Like the foundation is set up for that game for all sorts of stuff. If you look at like Grand Theft Auto and things like that. I mean, I think the guys at Rockstar would agree. It's like looking at what Mario 64 did in terms of an open world and things, but that was like revolutionary. There was nothing else like that when that came out. Like,
for sure.
In terms of an actual open. I mean, obviously, like Crash Bandicoot was like the first 3D platformer, but then Mario 64 comes out and just completely blows the doors off everything. It's just like you can you can truly free roam that game. You can go where you want. Obviously in and out of the portraits, but like it is completely wide open and you can do what you want. You can click whatever star you want, and there weren't anything like that. Like that was completely.
It wasn't linear, was it? It was like you can go.
No.
It was linear in that some doors, some portraits are locked behind doors that required stars.
Yeah,
right?
you need the amount of stars. That was it. But like the stars you got was like you do it in any order. There was no order to how you had to do anything. And like even to this day, like. That formula still stands. Like if you look at Mario Odyssey now, like Mario Odyssey is essentially Mario 64, but on a way
just really pretty,
larger scale,
yeah.
and a lot prettier looking. but like the core game itself, like the actual underlying core of it, is like it's the same. It's Mario 64, but completely blown up. And like I say, that game was the definition of a game changer of like games moving forward into like the 21st century and things. So
it's really interesting that you mentioned the open world stuff, because I'd never really looked at it in that way and like considered it being like
that's what I'm saying. You think of the games of that generation. I mean, I know you had like Grand Theft Auto, which was like a top down, but in terms of an actual 3D world,
I mean, it wasn't
completely open.
I mean, the original GTA game, like GTA 1 and 2, was successful, but you could argue it wasn't until 3 that it went.
Yeah, but again, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the comparison isn't quite there either, because that is like a 2D platformery kind of thing.
If you think about it as well,
top down, and
you think about it as well, these world explorers, like these 3D world explorer games, like Super Mario 64, paved the way for MMOs.
Totally.
Yeah.
I would love to know what game the developers of World of Warcraft played that were like, holy shit, we can apply this to our franchise.
There was a lot of RPG or MMOs before WoW, so
yeah, but
I mean, there's like Lineage and things like that.
But no,
so,
I mean, even that though, the MMOs really stemmed from, and this is really going back, but things called MUDs. I don't know if you're familiar with. MUDs.
Multi-user dungeons.
Yeah. So the text-based servers that you would log into, and
there's actually, I'm gonna fucking do it because I can, and this is a topic that tangents really well into it. There's the anniversary of old school RuneScape happened last year, and they did the documentary about it, and it visits. Fuck! Look at this guy. Fuck you. They revisit like the history of how the game started and how like the three brothers who created the game were literally they would play mud like format games for like 8 hours a day, and they were like, let's just make our own dungeon crawler game. Like, so they did, and then they were like, all right, now let's add a city to it, and let's do this and let's do this, and then before you know it, like they've opened it up to the servers of their university, and everyone in the university has signed up to play it, and they're like, oh holy shit, we need a server to host this on now so people can play. Like the documentary, even if you don't like RuneScape, watch the documentary because it's a really good and interesting history of the game. So, but
I remember like MUDs going from, being these text things, and then there was rumblings of like this kind of upstart of, well, not an upstart, it was an established franchise, but Ultima Online. It was going to be like a MUD, but it was going to have like graphics and an interface, and it was going to be online all the time, and you're going to be able to log in. It was a persistent world with this like, and it was all like graphicy and nice, and it was like like such a massive deal. And that was another game that I Ultima Online. I spent some time in that back in the day.
But those original MMOs though, they weren't. I think what Perry was getting at was more the actual aspect of having a world to roam. Whereas with those games, I mean, I know you had a world to roam, but it wasn't.
I guess they were much more in the.
It wasn't
RPG.
like a 3D perspective where you're like behind your character and
of course,
doing whatever.
we had a
like I say, if you
there. Go on, carry on anyway.
No, yeah. What I was just going to say next was just like if you think back, like I say, to that time, to games that were on the PS1. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head now. What was out on PS1 when it was anything like that? Actually, I think Driver came obviously a bit later on. I mean, Mario was truly probably the first. I mean, I could be wrong, and it could have been something else, but from my knowledge, that Mario was the first to take that leap anyway, and be to that sort of expand, like the amount of area that you had to cover and amount of different levels and things that were completely open to, you could play the game how you wanted to, basically. There wasn't anything else really like that. So, yeah, for me, that was like one of my first gaming loves. I'd still go back and play that game now, 64, quite happily. If I had a 3DS or whatever, I'd bang that in and quite happily and session that game because it's fantastic. Which gets me on to my true love, which I still love to this day. And I'm clearly gushing. It's like I'm sad. I love this fucking game so much. That's Halo. And again, that might feel like a bit of a stock, but might feel like a bit of a stock answer for a lot of people. But that game for me opened windows to so many different games that I play now, and games that I another game loved, which was like Counter-Strike and things like that. Like I never used to Halo for me was the first, even though there was FPS obviously before that, and I had a PlayStation 2 and things like that. So, and I never used to I never played FPS games ever. I never really got on with them. I found them quite a chore to play, and never really was any good or anything like that. And I never bothered. I had a PC as well, and I never used to play anything like that. I never played Half-Life until like after this. Like that came. So like obviously Half-Life had been out. I mean that's a whole different topic on its own. That game. That's a whole different topic. That game.
Deus Ex, fucking
exactly. We could talk some stuff. I never played like Deus Ex again. Like I played that, but again, it was all after this point. I never played first-person shooters at all until I got Halo. I got the original Xbox on launch day in March of 2002. It was March 14th. I noted it down. What day it was? March 14th, 2002.
Almost like to the day. What day are we on?
Yeah, very.
It
That is today. Oh shit! It's the anniversary. Oh my god! This is perfect. I have no idea.
That was amazing.
Shit. That is fucking fantastic. It's 16 years ago that I first played that fucking game. Oh my god, to the day. That is spooky and weird.
Monumental,
and
that is.
Kind of fucking delightful as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, got that.
I love the fact you just lost your shit there. That was great.
I literally didn't even clock that it was the same day. Yeah, got that on launch date. I think I got that, and what was the Abe game? Munch's Odyssey.
Munch's Odyssey.
Another fucking fantastic game. Another beautiful game. All of those games, again, another beautiful games. We had people, just a tangent off for a sec, where I was talking to people who were tweeting us and stuff like that earlier on and on WhatsApp and things like that, just talk about the topic we're talking about today. And literally, this conversation opens up so many doors to like games you forget about, and you're just like, oh, that game was amazing.
Yeah,
and
totally.
remember how like all these different games that you spent so much time on, and you just forget about because like there's so, especially now these days, there's so many games.
The turnover of stuff is like crazy.
Yeah, there's so many devs and stuff like that. I mean, the market now is just ridiculous. So whereas back then, I mean, you'd have like a few games. I mean, there was always something every month, but it was like, you know, it was only one game a month rather than 10, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Complete tangent there. Where was I? Yeah, Halo.
I'm going to pick back up on that topic because my experience is different, and I think it is the reason why I am a one game guy. But so yeah, I'll pick back up on that in my little section. But yeah, go on, carry on. Keep telling us about Halo.
Halo.
What Halo specifically was it? Was it Halo 1?
Halo 1. We talk about launch, like I say, launch day Xbox, very first title to come out. I remember playing Halo prior to launch because Xbox actually launched in November in the States, and then we got it in March. So there was a bit of a wait. And I remember being fucking like, so what would I have been? 11 years old. And I'm sat on my laptop that I had at the time on fucking eBay. And I'm like, Mum, I could get an Xbox imported for a penny. And if a few years older me knew what I was saying and looking at, I'd be like, you're getting mugged off, mate. That ain't real. You can't do that. We didn't buy one. It's okay. She was like, you can just wait. You have to wait till March. So anyway, yeah, I remember playing Halo. I think it was in an electronics boutique as it was back then. It was before it became game. And they had an Xbox set up, and they had Halo on the thing, and I played it, and like we were playing split screen. It was me and my cousin, and I was like, "This is fucking amazing." I was like, "And I'm getting this. This is gonna be mine." And then like it came out, and I remember. I think you might have actually been here, Perry.
I was, yeah, I remember.
I'm pretty sure launch day of Xbox was on a whatever. It was on a school day anyway, and everybody came around after school to see the Xbox because no one else had one. Like I was the only kid with an Xbox because everybody else had PlayStation, and we all jumped on Halo and like the split screen that campaign. I've never played through a campaign so many times in my existence. Again, when I was a kid, it was my friend Adam was you, Ed. Basically, he was the kid who was always over my house to play, and we were always playing computer games. And every weekend, because he'd come over on a Friday and he'd go home on a Sunday, he would literally stay at my house every weekend, all weekend. He'd come up, and sometimes we'd bunk school and it would span longer than that. But we would literally play Halo non-stop. And there wasn't a game before that, and there hasn't been a game since that for me that I played so consistently. And the game's not even that long. Like you can complete Halo in about 6 hours.
Yeah.
We just used to bounce around difficulties. We just jump up and down on the difficulties and just run through, and like even just the multiplayer on it. The multiplayer was nothing really. I mean, unless you had friends to like LAN your Xboxes with. There was no Xbox Live back then. It was literally me and Adam.
LANing Xboxes.
Yeah.
My first experience was it of Halo and the original Xbox. So obviously when Microsoft launched the Xbox, they were pushing it quite hard and like were keen for people to get on and play it. And Sujoy at the time, obviously he was still riding his like big pro gamer wave with all his Q2 stuff. Maybe even Quake 3 at that point. I can't remember. I'm not sure whether it fits in the timeline. But anyway, we basically had a LAN party. We were arranging a LAN party at Sujoy's house. There was a bunch of us. I think it must have been 8 or 10 of us. Going around to his house for the weekend to play games. They're all taking our PCs and whatnot. And he was friendly with the reps at Microsoft because of who he was. And he was like, oh yeah, can we get an Xbox? He was just, blagging it, like, can we get an Xbox for the weekend so we could, like, have a mess around? And so we get over there, and he basically goes, no, you're not going to believe this. And he basically goes to the boot of his car. He's like, they're giving him 4 Xboxes and four copies of every launch title. We literally had everything. So we LANed, like, these 4 Xboxes together and just spent, like, the weekend, like, doing multiplayer Halo, like between a lot of us.
Oh man,
absolutely nuts!
I'd love to have done that. Obviously, I was 11 years old. Come out, so like for me, that weren't possible. Like people, I don't think any of my friends started getting Xboxes until maybe like a year, maybe 2 after it came out.
For me, it was a year after, and I remember.
Yeah,
I remember. So this is the thing that sticks in my brain about the Xbox. It was the 4-player split screen.
Yeah,
where you could play 4 people could play Halo on one Xbox at the same time. It blew my mind. I remember the first day I got my Xbox, I didn't set up my Xbox. I just took my pad out of it, went round Naz's house, and we played. I can't remember what we played, but we basically played. It was me, you, Jord, and no, it wouldn't have been Jord.
I don't know. Your memory's better than mine on this one.
There was 4 of us.
I remember distinctly. Munch's Odyssey, you came over, and I think you completed that game around my house before I completed that game.
I did, yeah.
I was playing the shit out of that on my Xbox. You'd just come over and you'd play that, and I'd sit on the laptop playing The Sims or some shit. Speaking of simulation games, I used to love The Sims.
Damn.
So yeah, no, I remember you playing the hell out of it. But yeah, the 4-player split screen on it was just fucking unreal. I mean, a bit later on, I mean. I actually think it was 360. We'd get Halo 2 and LAN Xbox 360s up to play Halo 2. Not. I don't think you were there for that period, but we'd go with like Fletcher's, my friend Fletcher's at the time, and we'd LAN just get 2 TVs, 4 players on each screen, 4v4 on Halo 2 that was. But yeah, like on Halo 1 though, getting back to Halo 1, it was just me and my friend Adam all the time, and we'd just fucking do 1v1s. Just we made this stupid game. I don't even know why we called it this, but we called it Piggy. And then one person would be in the tank. One person would be in the tank, and the Piggy would be the person who wasn't in the tank. And you had to try and kill the person who was in the tank. Like, that was the objective, to try and avoid the Scorpion tank, to try and kill the guy out of it, to then take over and not be the Piggy anymore.
So was the person in the tank allowed to attack? I guess not.
Yeah, fully. Yeah, you just had to like sneak. I remember we used to do it on Blood Gulch all the time, and there was a little cavern.
Blood Gulch.
Yeah, Blood Gulch.
My overriding memory of Blood Gulch is Red versus Blue. Like
the video series.
That was absolutely hilarious. Like, yeah, so good.
Yeah, Blood Gulch was like the only map we ever really played. To be honest, we'd always go on Blood Gulch. Someone would get in the Scorpion, and then the other guy had to like go through the caverns to try and sneak round. To be fair, like thinking back to it, I don't even know how we even used to like not screen look, but we never used to screen look. And you're on the same TV. Who knows?
I remember that so. You're just giving me so many nostalgia waves. Being like, stop screen looking.
Yeah. Halo as well. Like for me, like I say, it opened the door on first-person shooters for me. I never enjoyed first-person shooters. So I mastered Halo, and then I remember maybe a year or so after that, it was when a LAN center opened in town, and I first started playing Counter-Strike and things like that. Whereas
Pulse.
before, I'd never even
remember
give
that.
that.
Do you
Never even give that
do you
shit
remember
the time of day.
Do you remember Pulse doing the day pass and then the all-nighter?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we would
I used to love doing that.
We would
yeah.
literally be in that place for
Nice.
like 24 hours solidly.
Yeah, and that was when we were playing WoW as well, so we'd just play WoW for 24 hours.
Yeah, don't say that game to me.
Yeah, let's not go down that avenue.
We're
Let's not go down that
I'm
avenue.
gonna fuck with that in a minute.
Oh, okay,
I'm
cool.
gonna talk about it.
So yeah, Halo opened that up for me. Halo was the first game I gave a shit about sound as well. I was 11 years old. I remember I went to a car boot sale with my dad, and I bought a set of speakers just so I could plug them into the Xbox to have better sound.
Right.
Just because, like, I was like, this game needs to sound better. And like for me now, like, if you know me, I'm the biggest like fucking geek for like better TVs, better sound, everything like that.
Yeah.
So like, I think Halo.
It's true.
Like
I can confirm.
I think Halo was like the floodgate for that.
Let's not forget, like, although as you say, like there'd been FPSs before Halo, but one of the things Halo has introduced that's become a staple is the recharging health bar. That was never a thing. Like it was always you had to find health kits
Overshield,
or stuff. But yeah, Halo introduced the recharging health, which was like
There was loads of little caveats to the game that were just totally new. I mean, like just the way enemies would behave as well, the AI for the time as well, like the way the grunts would like see you and be like demon and run away and stuff like that, like and just the humor on the grunts and just things like that, and level design as well. Just fucking fantastic. Like I say, I've replayed the hell out of that game. It's funny because I was obviously just like going back over info of the game and stuff like that. I was watching a video earlier on, and they were talking about how like a lot of the rooms are the same.
That was one thing I did notice when I was playing. It's more in the later levels after you get to
the
like,
later
the
levels.
flood part. I would actually find myself running out of one room into another one and then getting really confused.
Being like, I've just been
there. Like, have I just
the
run
level
back
of the
into
library
the same
was
room?
like the worst for that. Good God, the library! I got lost on that game, that level, so many times when we first started doing it, and it was just ridiculous. It's literally everything looks the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the flood though, as well, like before Halo came out, everything was a covenant, and like what other game? There probably is some, but what other game has turned around midway through and been like, here's an enemy you knew nothing about? Complete just 180, and like, here's a new enemy, like the main enemy, really, of like the franchise after that point. Like they weren't announced, none on the promo or anything for that game. That was all just like, until you played the game, you had no idea. That was a legitimate surprise. Like, I remember playing Halo, and then all of a sudden the tone starts to shift. I think it's on the Silent Cartographer. I think it was the level.
Because you like land in like the jungly place, and it's all
yeah, that's it. And it's like all eerie, and it's like, oh, what the fuck's going on here? You go in a building, and like everyone's dead, and next minute the flood turns up, and it's just this enemy that you haven't even seen before. But that's kind of a cool thing. Like I can't think of the last game that like genuinely like just popped out and just gave you something random that wasn't like, other than maybe like an actual like story twist or something like that. But I mean, like just introducing something totally new that wasn't even promoted, just going like, here you go. Like Halo's got to be one of the first games that did that. Like I say, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that's done that since, but that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
yeah, I love Halo a lot, like a lot.
Well, I think we can tell.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, like I say,
Cool.
I want to play first-person shooters if I'm going for that game. And like now, well, everything I do is like is play first-person shooters essentially. So for me, it was a big floodgate opener to a lot of things, like appreciation for like audio in games, appreciation for probably like visuals and things like that, and first-person shooters and just games in general. Like I say, I think if it weren't for that, I wouldn't have ever got like hardcore into like PC gaming and stuff like that either. So I mean, there's lots of games that I could shout out that I played before that, like Onimusha, Devil May Cry, and whatnot. Like I used to love those games as well. Like I say, it's very different, but like Halo for me was that one game that I could just even now go back to.
Good. Cool.
So yeah, that's me.
That's you. That's you done. I suppose it's my turn now, eh?
Damn right it is.
Damn right. Damn straight. So I did a similar thing to Ed, and I kind of split it into two main questions really. So like the first game that got me into gaming, and then the first game where I decided I was a gamer. You know?
Yeah, I think that's like we're all on that ballpark.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I've played games ever since I was super young. So like my mum made sure that I had a console to play basically at all times.
Just the opposite.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's interesting.
I
'cause
was the same.
changes.
Yeah,
It changes as I get older, and I'll talk about it. So and it was the Sega Mega Drive, and I used to play Sonic.
Nice.
And I used to play. We had an original Nintendo as well, and we had Alex the Kid and Zelda: Link's Awakening on those two. Those were the two main games that we played, and it would literally be like the weekends would just be me and my mum sat on the sofa for like hours, literally like 6 hours, just playing through these games. And my mum would be like, "Oh, have you checked this room?" And "Oh, go back, you missed a heart or you missed a sword," and, all that sort of stuff. So the reinforcement there of like playing games and getting into games has always been there since I was like a very young child.
Wow.
The game changer for me was when I got a PS1, and the first game I got on PS1 was Final Fantasy IX. Now, and this was like the first game that introduced to me the element of like storylines and stuff and like narratives in games, because interestingly enough, it wasn't until like a year after I first played the game that it actually started hitting me, because I think I must have been too young when the game came out. I think it came out in '98, so I was like 7 years old. So I was a bit too young to sort of follow the narrative of this complex RPG game, So I would just like spam through the text, get into the next fight, and level up my character and get the next bit of gear, and all that sort of stuff. But playing, so I didn't complete that. I never completed Final Fantasy IX until I was like 18 years old. I played through it. I think I must have played through the first 2 discs like 100 times. Like legitimately 100 times. So I would play through, and I would do this thing as well when I was younger, where I would play through, get to a certain point, and then delete my save file and start again. And I've no fucking idea why I would do this as well. Like I can't remember who it was. There was someone. It was when we was in Hazelmere. I can't remember who I used to hang out with. It might have been like Daniel Grimwade. Like witnessed me do this, and he was just like, "Why are you doing that?" I was just like, "I don't know."
Were you like? Did your mum like drop you or something? You were just like,
I was like, I don't know. I just want to
I just want to fucking delete this and do it all again.
Pretty much. So I would do that again and again and again, and like that game, I know the first 3 discs of that game I know inside out. Like I can tell you where every item is, where every secret is, because I've played it that many times. But yeah, so it came later when I started like following the narrative and following the story, and it was then that I started like being like, oh, actually, I want to progress this now. Like I want to keep playing it to see where the story goes, and that's where my love of like RPGs comes from. Is 100% based on Final Fantasy. So after playing Final Fantasy 9, I then bought Final Fantasy 8, and I was just like, I want to fuck with this. I want to see what this is about. And then that just opened me up as well, because like that's when I fell in love with like mini games. I would play the card game in Final Fantasy 8 for hours, like legitimately hours, trying to collect all of the cards. Not realizing that you could refine the cards to make items that were like super strong in the game and stuff like that. Like I just didn't even acknowledge that part of it. It was just a part playing the card game. And the best bit was I just never fucking understood how the card game worked. Never understood. Never understood that there were elements, attack types, like card types. No, it was just like, I'm gonna throw this card down because it looks cool, and I think that it could eat the other card. that was literally it.
That sounds like the best way to play it.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, when you're that age, you don't grasp stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like so when I was playing Halo in 2001, I didn't think to myself like, oh, this game is a game changer. You know what I mean? Like you don't think about stuff like
exactly.
that. It's like when you're a bit older, you look back and you think, wow, fuck, that game was like, that was it.
Yeah, I remember as well. I remember playing Final Fantasy VIII for the first time around my friend Scott's house, and his older brother was playing the game, and he must have been like 4 years older than us. He had a PS1 pad that had a boost button on it, and he turned the boost button on, and then like, so with the GFs in Final Fantasy VIII, you can basically increase the amount of damage they do by like spam pushing a button. Now I didn't even know about that mechanic. So that changed my complete outlook on that game. Like I was killing bosses like that I was training for hours to kill. Like yeah, it was insane. There was one boss called Diablo, which like to get to him you have to rub a lamp. And now you can do this at like any point in the game. And I watched Scott's brother do it like as soon as he gets to the lamp, and I'm like, how are you doing this? You fucking like you're not human. Like how are you doing this? And then he showed me about boosting and all that sort of stuff. But then he used this boost pad. He just held down square, and the number would just like went up to like 10, 100, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and I'm like, that's cheating. And he was just like, so I was like, I need it. So went home and be like, Mum, I need a boost pad. And she's like, what the fuck is a boost pad? I'm like, it's a PlayStation pad, and it's got a boost button on it, and it's just gonna change my game. Like that was like my first real excitement for being like, I need this new piece of kit. Like I need this new piece of tech to increase my gameplay.
Can I just jump in for 2 seconds? You've just reminded me of something.
Yeah, do it.
Cheating. You know when you were younger, did you guys do it as well? Like where you were like, I'm just gonna fucking buy an exploder and cheat everything. Like I swear, games back in the day, it was like cool to cheat. Like unless you cheated on your games, it was like you weren't doing it right.
Cheats have kind of disappeared. You don't really have cheats.
No one does it now, do it? I mean, I don't want to play a game now and cheat because I'm like, what's the point? So,
but like even like the stupid fun ones, like that just did weird.
Yeah, it's not cheats.
Like people just
like back in the day, like it was like a legit thing to go out and buy an action replay or a exploder or Game Shark.
But even action replayer. Oh,
but even Jesus. Like the built-in stuff, like the up, down, left, right on the start screen, and it gives you like extra lives.
Yeah,
and, like,
you don't get none of that anymore. GTA was like the game to cheat on as well, like that with all the combos and stuff.
No,
like,
the game for me, the game for me that brings back cheats was, what was that Spider-Man game where you could type in the different codes and get like all the different
It was
suits.
Spider-Man.
Was it just called Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's just sad. I remember one of the codes still.
Was it Ilnats? It was Stan Lee backwards.
Ilnats.
Yeah,
Stan Lee.
That stuck in my head as well.
Nice. I remember a cheat as well. It was for a Star Wars game. It's like I swear it was just Farm Boy. I think it might have been for Rogue Squadron. Farm Boy was a cheat. Right. I think that unlocked the Millennium Falcon.
That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So that was my first real introduction to like platform, to console gaming, and like that introduced me to games and piqued my interest in gaming. And then later, PC gaming became a thing. Now I dabbled with like RuneScape for a little bit, like back when 07 was new, when like
back when it wasn't old school.
Yes, so this is the
back
thing.
When it was just school.
So RuneScape, old school RuneScape, before it was old school RuneScape, was RuneScape. Like and that was like, but no, because so they re-released old school in 2007.
Yeah.
And that was the restart, right? But I played it when it was that game, but before it was released. Like before it was re-released, so I played it before it was upgraded. Like, and I remember that being like, it was interesting. Like I played it, but it didn't grab me. Like it wasn't like a really good MMORPG or anything like that. So I played with that for a little bit, and then World of Warcraft came out.
Sorry, can I just jump in one more second?
Yeah, do it.
Does that mean that RuneScape still isn't a very good MMORPG?
Shut up.
Or if that was school then and it's now old school, it's the same game, so it's therefore not very good?
I'm going to pretend like you didn't just say those words. and then World of Warcraft happened to me. And as can tell you, that affected my
social life.
My social life. Like, genuinely. I suffered with gaming addiction with this game.
I had party when we was like 16, my house. It'd be like my birthday. And we were really rebellious kids and would drink alcohol and stuff like that, 15, 16 years old in my back garden. Perry would be invited, and I remember one time he didn't come to, I think it was a birthday party, didn't come because he had raid.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
It was raid night, I can't come.
Literally, wow.
Yeah.
So one of my flatmates at that time, WoW pretty much ruined her life. To the point, she would literally sit in her room to the point where she just stopped going to work.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like...
I keep saying wow, and it's
like,
really ironic.
It probably like ruined her. Like
I remember, interestingly
it ruined her relationship. She lost a job. Like it was like
interestingly enough.
That's legit though. Sorry, that's legit. She lost her job.
Yeah, no, it completely destroyed her.
Do you remember? Pulse, the gaming cafe?
Yes.
Anthony, the guy that owned that, he used to play World of Warcraft, and the same thing happened to him. He lost his wife, he lost his family, lost his house, lost his job, just because he was he sunk himself into World of Warcraft. And if I'd have been maybe 4 or 5 years older, the same thing would have happened to me, 100%. Like I would have just lost my entire social.
Honestly, he was bad.
How old are you?
12, 13.
You would have had a house
And
a wife.
No.
Shut up. I
You'd
think
have been 40. Yeah, you were older than that,
40,
pal.
I would
Just
have
to
been
jump
14,
in, you'd have
yeah.
been about. That came up when we were 14, so you'd have been like 15, 16, whatever.
Yeah.
Getting our facts
So
straight.
this is when my parents decided that gaming was not a healthy thing, because I would just sit in our computer room, like literally locked it. Like I would
3
literally
days straight.
You joke, but I would literally locked myself in the computer room once. So the other chair that was in the room, I propped up against the door, so my mum couldn't come in and turn the computer off. I was like, I'm not coming out until I've done this thing. Like you can go away. Like,
Wow.
There was a short spell of time where Perry lived at my house for a couple of months, and the time that he was here, it was the same. It was wow.
Exactly the same. My computer was set up in Az's bedroom, and they would all, like, everyone would come around and they would socialise, and then they would all go out, and you'd be like, "So you coming?" And I'm like, "No, I'm playing World of Warcraft."
Me and my friend Nick were out sneaking out around girls' houses, and Perry would stay and play WoW and be our cover if we got caught being out at 2 a.m.
Yeah,
Perry was our
legitimately.
cover.
I was wingmanning them just by playing World of Warcraft.
Wow.
You could.
I keep saying wow.
Yeah.
It's like
annoying.
oh god, it's
So
wow.
this sparked my interest in, like, 'cause I'm a huge MMORPG player. Like
Really?
I always have been.
This is
and always
a
will be.
shock.
Yeah, haha, you're really funny. And this is where it started, basically. Like I played this game. It wasn't until like a few years later where I actually started getting into like guild cooperation and doing like scheduled raids and stuff like that. But like as soon as that started happening, then it was like, yep, bye. it was pretty much me. And interestingly enough, the expansion that's coming out in like 5 months' time will be the first ever World of Warcraft expansion that I don't play on launch.
I don't believe that you won't play it though. If you were about to say that,
I genuinely don't think I will play it.
you will fully play it.
No, I honestly don't think I will. I think, and it's solely because of the content. Like, this next expansion is like a full-on PvP content expansion, and it just doesn't interest me. So I'm like, nah, like it doesn't.
Fair enough.
It's
Yeah.
and for me as well. For me to say that, it actually, I was thinking about this a little while ago, and I was just like, wow, it hit home for me. I was like, damn, like what the fuck has happened? Like what part of me has changed for me to say, oh yeah, I'm not going to play World of Warcraft when it comes out? Like,
I mean, I was never as hardcore into it as you clearly were.
yeah.
No,
Yeah,
me
I
neither. I used to play Edge, and it was just like,
Are you
no,
Like
yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I would say it's definitely up there in like my like top games list. But yeah, I think the and I did play it a lot. But yeah, I mean, I kind of broke the chain with Legion. I never went into Legion. I think after Warlords of Draenor, I kind of picked that up because I remember you guys were like really into it at the time, and I kind of got a bit hyped off that. And I was like, oh cool, yeah, I'll get back into it and play it. And then I never even hit the level cap after buying that. So I kind of knew I was kind of done with it at that point. And yeah, so then Legion passed me by, and it's kind of I'm out.
Legion? I enjoyed Legion. Like,
Yeah, I'm sure it was good, but yeah, I kind of run my time with it. I think.
World of Warcraft falls into the same pattern every expansion, basically, where they get to like 6 months of no new content, and it's like, all right, I've killed this boss 87 times. I don't want to kill it anymore. Like, I'm done with this for now. Like, the best part of any expansion for me is always the first grind. And it's like, it's doing the dungeons to get the blue armor you need to go and do the raid for the first time. Like, that is always the best part for me, because it's the most community-driven part. Like, I'll use Legion as an example. When Legion launched, it was me, Chip, Jono, Crusher, and Mark. we literally were in a 4-man party whenever we were online. And we would do all the quests in all the zones. We did all the dungeons together. We did all the heroic dungeons together. Like, and that was great. Like that for me, that is like the best part of any MMO. It's like grouping up with your friends and just planning what you're going to do and what roles you're going to play and all that sort of stuff. Like, yeah, it's going to be interesting not playing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped on Cataclysm.
I genuinely do. Like,
oh wow, that's going back a bit.
Yeah, that was like 2-3 expansions ago. Yeah, wow. I think my high point of World of Warcraft was Mr. Pandaria, and it was purely because of the monk, the Pandarin monk. Like, I had been waiting for this fucking class and race for 3 years. Like, I was like,
you know what? I always said that would be what brought me back to WoW. I was like, if they introduce Pandarians, I'll come back, and I did for a 7-day trial. I made a panda. I did one quest, and then I deleted it. That was honestly all I did.
That expansion.
I was just happy I made a panda man.
I still love how the Pandarians were an April Fool's joke. Like I think it was like the first year.
The best April Fool's joke was when they announced that wisps were going to be a playable race, and people lost their shit. They were like, "You're joking, right?" And then they realized that they announced it like the beginning of April, and they were like, "Oh wow, okay." Jokes on us. Yeah, so that's like, that game pushed me forward as a gamer. Like, I went from being a casual platformer to being like a semi-hardcore MMORPG player, and that was like,
I don't know, it sounds like you're more semi-hardcore.
Well, I was only semi-hardcore because like, well, I mean, if you read about these fucking hardcore guilds, like, well, no, I wasn't hardcore because I still had to go to my job and school and college but then the minute you left. Well, no, even then, like, the minute I left college, I got a full-time job. There was never really a point where I could just sit and play games for 8 hours a day, like, or 10 hours a day.
Oh no, okay, but I meant like the minute you were home.
But that's the hardcore level. Like, the hardcore level is like the people that play the game. They have multiple characters. Like, they get paid to do it. It's the guilds that, like, people that apply to these huge guilds like Method, and pay a fee to be a part of the guild.
Really?
Yeah, it's a huge thing. Method was really big for it. So, and he literally would redistribute the fees to make sure people could fucking live. Like Jesus. And like, you paid, but then at the same time, insane. You got paid by the guild to do your job in the guild because it was a job.
That is crazy.
It's huge. It's nuts.
I wasn't even aware that it was a thing. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, so that was definitely my push. But I think that's the reason, like, going back to Final Fantasy, like, Final Fantasy was the reason that I don't play multiple games, because I'm like, no, I have to play it to the end. Like, and once I've done that, I want to play it again to get the story again. So that was where, like, the narrative-based games for me.
I'm the counter of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm Mister, I'll play everything.
And weirdly, I'm somewhere in between.
Kind of, yeah. Well, you get attached to titles, but then you're like, finish the story now, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But yeah,
that's me. Time, if I finish a game, it's just done. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, Assassin's Creed, like, recently was a bit of an anomaly, because I actually finished the kind of, I really no-lifed that for like a good couple of weeks. It happened that I was kind of ill and off work for a good chunk of time in that, so I was able to put a lot of hours into it.
Ill.
So that happens to me as well. There's always something that comes out now and again that will fully grip me, and I'll plough my life into it. Like,
but what I was going to say was,
okay,
I kind of got to the end of the campaign, and usually, it's one of these things where I'm like, I'll come back and do some other bits, like, at some point, and, like, do some more side quests, and usually that doesn't happen, and it'll kind of, I've finished the main story, I've kind of satisfied that I finished it, I'll intend to come back and do some bits, and then I never bother. But I've finished it, so it's fine. But then with that, I actually did come back and, like, did everything that I could get my hands on. So that was kind of, that was...
I was exactly the same with that. I was going to say another game that I didn't mention, I just want to give a shout out to, was Mass Effect. Because Mass Effect is up there with, like, one of my... Mass Effect 1 and 2 specifically, anyway. I like two of my favourite games of all time. I like... That when they come out, I had Mass Effect for about 2 years before I actually played it, or maybe longer. I didn't play Mass Effect 1 through until about 3-4 months before Mass Effect 2 was launching.
And the only reason you did that is because I told you to do it. Was it?
Was it?
You? I think it was you. Like that, someone basically had not played this game, and I was like, "You're a fucking idiot! Like, play this game. It will change your fucking opinion on these sorts of games." Like,
the one that sort of game that was my issue. It was just one of those things of like it was huge, and like sometimes I have to really ease myself into dedicating that amount of time to one game.
yeah.
And then I got gripped by the story in it and just threw myself at it. And like those games are just sublime. I love those games.
Interestingly enough, I think the most recent example of a game that I've played that I played for the narrative but then didn't finish was Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh
That's
yeah,
fair.
that's a different kettle of fish.
The only reason I would want to play that game is for the narrative, and then I got like halfway through and I was like, yeah, I'm done. Like,
annoying. I mean, yeah, the annoying thing with Andromeda was the kind of storyliney bits. There was like some subplots and stuff that didn't even really get that interesting till later in the game, and then they didn't resolve them and left them hanging, which was like, and yeah, that I had to force myself to finish it because I was like, I want to finish it, even though it's not great.
It's a shame because their predecessors were just such good games.
Yeah.
I played Mass Effect 2. I played through that game like 5 times.
Mass Effect 2 was definitely my favourite, I think.
I remember playing through.
So I think I prefer 1.
Really?
See,
I genuinely loved
I prefer
1.
the story of 1, but the gameplay of 2 was like the best part. Like that was when
one story for me is just
number 2, like the gameplay, they really hit the sweet spot in the gameplay, I think.
I remember as well when 2 came out, finding out that you could port your save into 2.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember going back playing 1 and changing my options and then porting it back into 2 and being like, holy shit, it's just a different game. Like, yeah. Let's before we wrap, let's do a quick shout out to some of the people that commented on our
I was literally
Let's read them out.
You've stolen the words out of my mouth.
You seem to have them to hand out, so you can do the
literally
can't see them. That's a widescreen.
Hand.
Literally in my hand.
Ed and I will eat revels while you talk.
Okay, here we go. So Bradley Mannings says, recording podcast on First Gaming Loves. What a topic. So many consoles, but N64 was the first big one for me. So Mario 64.
Hey, there we go.
GoldenEye.
Oh,
speaking of first person.
How did none of us say GoldenEye?
GoldenEye popped into my head when you started talking about the N64. Like when the
I won't lie, spoilers. I didn't speak about GoldenEye because of this. I knew this would come.
Oh, fair. Good shout though, Brad. That's a real good one.
GoldenEye, Perfect Dark.
Perfect Dark as well. Damn.
And of course, Zelda: Ocarina of Time. GoldenEye probably just takes, he says. So, yeah, no, GoldenEye. I mean, I was speaking on first-person shooters. I guess GoldenEye was the first one that I personally enjoyed. It didn't grab me or make me want to invest in like the genre of first-person shooters like Halo did. Hence, I didn't really give that much props earlier on because for me, I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was fun. But for me, it wasn't one of those games when I was a kid that I played a lot of.
GoldenEye for me was always like the party game. It was always the game that you played when all your friends were around because you were like, oh shit, we can play multiplayer. No one's allowed to play that one guy that was completely overpowered. I can't remember his name. Oddjob. No one's allowed to play Oddjob because he's fucking broken. And then you would like race through the character select and you're like, I got Oddjob. I'm Oddjob. Fuck you. Like.
You couldn't fucking hit him, so. But yeah, no, that was definitely the party game. Do you know what? I never played, just because obviously Perfect Dark and GoldenEye are essentially like the same game, aren't they? Really, they're both rare, and like they play exactly the same. But like Perfect Dark, I didn't actually play Perfect Dark till like after the fact. Like I played that way later.
There's a definite theme with your gaming here.
I do this a lot, like I do, and like I hold my hands up. Like there's a lot of games that I won't play for absolutely ages, and then I think, right, I need to have played this
Horizon
fucking
Zero
game.
Dawn.
Yeah, cough.
Horizon Zero Dawn. Year later, but I'm still playing it, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I was playing it just before we come on the pod. But I do that, but I still go back. That's the thing. Like people slate me of like, oh, you don't play stuff. I'm like, I will get to it. It might take me 10 years in some cases.
Be fair. How big is your Steam library?
My Steam library is like 400 games long. So, and that's excluding what I own on consoles and stuff like that, and Origin and other platforms. So, yeah. Right, another tweet.
Go.
Another tweet. This is from Jakey KD, which is Jake Dow. He says, guys playing games. First game in love was Metal Gear Solid. 10 years old and writing down all the codex codes to my first Easter eggs.
Yes.
Even making Rose blush and being gobsmacked by being gobsmacked by Master being Liquid Snake. Spoilers, lol. Was hooked from there.
Yeah,
So
fair
yeah,
play.
Metal Gear Solid. To be fair, that game deserves serious props. This is the thing. This is why I said we need like 10 hours because there are so many games which are just fucking sublime.
I think we need to dedicate like one podcast or like a video a month to
We'll
retro
talk
games.
about retro. Yeah, we'll go retro. But this is the very first of our themes. But we'll get there. We'll cover it all. Brad then tweeted again saying about he's talking about football games and saying about missing fucking Target on Three Lions. Three Lions was a hell of a football game. Just saying. I'm guessing you two weren't really big sports games fans ever.
I'm just going to say no.
FIFA 98 on PS1. Good lord.
I mean,
Played that
if you
game.
count the Blitzball minigame in Final Fantasy X as a sports game, I put about 30 hours into a save file on that, so... No? Cool.
Yep. Anyway, just one more tweet just to read out, and this will be a nice segue as we wrap up the episode. This one is from Nintendo Mouse, which is Richard Atkinson. And he says, my first fondest gaming memory has to be first running out onto Hyrule Field on Zelda Ocarina of Time. Sheer size of that place made my hair stand on end. Shame about the annoying as fuck owl. That did not shut up. What's yours? I think Richard's got the answer of what ours is now, because whole episode about it. So yeah, that game. Well, did any of us mention Ocarina of Time? I don't think anyone.
I didn't, and I actually missed
That's
it.
a popular
because
one as well.
This is a segment I actually wanted to talk about. It's like we're talking about all these old games that like we've not played in years, but a lot of the titles we've spoken about are still widely popular in communities.
Yeah.
Specifically in like speedrun communities. Like I literally follow a guy on Twitch that exclusively speedruns Final Fantasy IX, and it's the best thing I've seen. Like genuinely, when I discovered this guy, his name is Matako. If you're into Final Fantasy IX, watch this guy bust this game because he completes it in like 8 hours, and I'm like, you're a fucking machine. like it's insane. But when I first found him, I was like, wow, the wave of nostalgia that came through me. I've got Final Fantasy IX on my phone, the mobile version of it.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me when you got it.
I downloaded it, and I was just like, this is fucking greatness. I remember everything.
Fucking greatness.
Yeah, what were you going to say, Az?
No, I was just going to say, like, Ocarina of Time, I mean, again, fucking beautiful game.
Huge speedrun community for that as well.
Speaking of the open world stuff, like Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
But that was after, that was after...
GameCube?
No, it was N64.
N64, yeah.
Well, again, that came after Mario, though. Mario's like the founder.
Yeah.
So, yeah, beautiful game. But segueing off of that, and just before we wrap up the show, because we've been talking for a hell of a long fucking time.
Yeah, we've gone over. We're like 20 minutes over what we've...
We're like, let's do an hour, and we are pushing 10 now, so, you know. Our last tweet from Richard is actually our guest next week. Richard is a reviewer for NintendoLife.com, and he'll be joining us next week to probably talk about Nintendo a lot as well.
He's going to be joining you specifically.
Joining me specifically here and us as a whole
broadcast
on the
unit.
Yes, exactly. The external unit of guys playing games over here in Colchester. You're in a unit. So yeah, he's going to be here to talk Nintendo and news and everything with us. Yeah, and we can see what he's been playing next week.
Yeah. So that's going to,
that's going to be a good episode. I'm interested to see what Richard's been playing. I mean, I'm not.
He can give us spoilers on whatever he's reviewing at the moment. He can be like, I've been playing this, and you know,
we're gonna get the inside scoop.
I'm looking forward to dipping into the psyche of what goes into the effort that goes into doing an actual official proper review that goes live on a website and everything like that.
And not just like donkey style. This is shit. Like
or like I read some reviews sometimes, and I'm like, I can't imagine sitting here writing 2 pages of stuff. I'd be like, Halo is a nice game. I shot some grunts. And that's basically what we get on this podcast from me as well. So
cool.
So yeah, there we go. That's our guest next week. Unless you guys have anything else to say before we sail off into the sunset.
No, let's wrap. I think we've bored the tits off of our listeners.
It's been I'm going to say it's been a really fun episode.
This has been a really good episode.
The nostalgia factor has been
and hopefully you guys have enjoyed it as well. So do leave us some comments. Let us know what you think about what we said. Let us know what you think of the new structure and like maybe suggest some topics as well, because we're going to be doing this every so often.
Yeah,
we want to do a themed month, like a themed
once a
month.
month.
We're doing a themed month every night. We're doing a different podcast.
Jesus.
And once a month, we're going to do a themed episode. So
Yeah.
like chime in with any like examples, suggestions. That's what I meant to say. Suggestions.
So Perry,
of what you'd like to hear.
where could they
Well,
leave?
Ed, I'm
comments?
glad that you've asked. So if you are watching on YouTube, you can find us. We don't have a URL, so ignore me.
Yet.
If
Just
you
search
are,
Guys Playing Games, you'll find us.
yeah, search Guys Playing Games, you'll find us. If you're listening on YouTube, drop us a like or a comment and subscribe. That's very helpful for us. If you're listening on... No, you're doing the...
Facebook.
Yeah, I
Facebook.
fucked this up.
Facebook.
Yeah, and then you can go over to our Facebook page, which is... Is it Guys Playing Games?
It's facebook.com/Guys Playing Games.
I didn't know if it was Guys Playing G's.
No, that's Twitter.
That's Twitter.
No.
Okay, so there you
Really
go.
annoyingly,
Right? So I
somebody
had to
else
check.
had the Twitter one.
Yeah. So Facebook.com/Guys Playing Games. Go over there. Give us a follow and
Drop a comment
a comment. Yeah.
on the podcast when it's up.
Let us know what you think. Cool.
Yeah. Other places where you could find us. Instagram. We've launched with the addition of As last week. We
launched.
all right. As launched.
I launched.
Hey, I've posted a picture.
Yeah. Done better than Perry on that front, yeah.
Gosh. Yeah, you can go follow us on Instagram. If memory serves, we are Instagram/Guys Playing Games. I'm pretty sure that's right.
Or you can find us at Guys Playing Games on there.
Yeah, check us out on there. There's, we're going to be posting stuff pretty regularly, pretty much every day. I think we've been posting bits and bobs.
Pretty
up.
much. We're pretty good, yeah.
So Instagram, and also for podcastness, please check us out on iTunes. We're on the official Apple-y, iTunes-y thing. Search us out on there, subscribe. You'll get all the latest podcast goodness straight into your phone. So do that.
Yeah, so follow that. And if you don't have an iPhone and you have Android, download the Stitcher app, because you can search us on Stitcher. Just search Guys Playing Games. Follow us up on that shit. You can get the new podcast. It'll push a little notification. It'll be like, oh, we have a new episode, and then you guys can come and listen, and it'll be wonderful time. And spoiler alert, Perry's already given you this, but follow us on Twitter, please. That would be wonderful if you could. We are at Guys Playing Gs. So that's at Guys Playing GS. So follow us on Twitter and follow us on everything else, and that would be wonderful. And that's it from us this week, guys. It's been wonderful.
It has,
It's
yeah.
swell.
It's been emotional.
It's been emotional. It has. Let's wrap. I've been Perry.
I've been Ed.
And I've been Az.
And we've been
We're
Guys Playing
Guys
Games.
Playing
Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to drop this little track on you right now. So this is a Zelda Lost Woods remix by GFM. It's kind of a trap tune, but I like it because it's got some nice wubs and some nice drops. I'm going to push play so you can hear it. I'm going to fade up, and we'll catch you guys later. Take care, guys.
It's been swell. Bye.
Bye.